Hi everyone, hi. This is Christine Crow here and welcome to the channel. And today I'm going to be talking about the government, well, the shift that's happening in small businesses with contracts opportunities. So are you ready for this? Because there are some changes, but there's also some positive things that we can draw from this for small business owners, for example. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how you can really make a shift and pivot and look at the small business opportunities, the contract opportunities that you can look at. And a lot of it also has got to do with building relationships as well. So I'm going to dive into this, and if you want to take some notes, you can do, because this is what this is about. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the contracts within there's the department, the State Department, the US State Department. There's also the Health and Human Services. Look, there's been a lot of people have lost their jobs, and my heart goes out to you all that is going through this right now, for example. And I couldn't talk about this without talk about this video without talking about those that have going through job losses and uncertainty right now. There's a lot of uncertainty around the world as well. But also, I know that some of you may be watching, and maybe you've come from the Health and Human Services, or you've come from the Department of State, for example, and other government agencies. And, my heart goes out to you all, for example. So today's video is really about how you can look at, for those of you that's got a business and looking at contracts, maybe you're worried and maybe you're thinking, am I going to lose my contract? You're possibly facing all of these things and these difficult times right now. So I really want to help you to look at shifting gear and looking at what else that you can look at as well, so that you got a backup plan. I've always said we should never leave our eggs all in one basket, because I know what it feels like to have the government. Suddenly you've got multiple contracts with a government organization. And for me, what happened, 20 odd years ago, for example, is I had quite a few contracts with the local government in the UK, this is, for example, and suddenly my price got almost halved. So that was a big issue for me, because I had hundreds of staff members, for example, and a big wage bill each month. People think because you're earning all of this money, $1 million, for example, that's what you've got in the bank. It isn't. It's what you're paying out all the time for staff, for example. So when you're looking at contracting with the government, don't just rely on the government for contracts, because things can just get, you know how things are right now. Things can just get swiped away right from underneath your feet. And you should never, if you listen to my videos, contract videos here on YouTube, I always talk about this. Don't rely on one government organization, because people always think, oh, I've got this contract with the government, I'm set for life. People think, I've got a job with the government, I'm set for life. It's not. It's not how it is. And they can just pull things away from you, just like how you're seeing happening, for example. And we can't just rely on one entity. As I've said in my previous videos as well, we can't just rely on one entity. We've got to always keep looking at different types of organizations that we can have a contract with. So I hope that makes sense. So I hope that you'll be able to stay till the end, because I'm going to be talking to you about your marketing strategy, how to use, like, you can target small contracts. Let's forget about going for these big ones right now. This is a fragile situation that we're in, for example. And yes, you may have your contracts, or some of you may be coming up to the end of a contract and may not have it renewed, or maybe you've had it stopped immediately, for example. So this is a fast way that you can also look at getting contracts. So I'm going to be talking really from, looking at a point of view of looking at contracts which are lower value contract. When I first started contracting with my care agencies many years ago, and I'll be the first one to tell you, when I had my government contract snatched from me, that it was like, when I say snatched, it wasn't snatched. I made a decision to say, no, this isn't viable at this price, so I can't continue with this contract because it was not viable. I'd had staff members on a payroll and saying, right, okay, you're going to be paid this amount every single month. You're going to do these number of hours every single month, for example. Okay, so for me, it's like I was stuck. I was caught in a very difficult situation. It was like the company was not viable due to this happening to me. So this is why I want to say to you all is that, if I would have focused more on other entities, then I would have been a lot stronger, instead of the domino effect that I had to face, for example. And I'm speaking to you from the heart here. This is what can happen as well. And I don't want it to happen to you where you're in a situation, or maybe you're currently going through it right now. So there's not much I can say about that, apart from looking at immediately pivoting and looking at what else you can do. Now, I've been speaking about this from last year, before any of these things even started happening, because I've been through this like 3 times in recessions, 3 times in my business over the 35 years, for example, the 25 years. I could feel that things were happening because of what I've been through before. And that's why I was so strong on, doing videos and saying, CEO challenges and how to deal with challenges, how to deal with stress and cope with inflation, and how can you look at saving money each month before you get hit by this wave, this storm that, everyone is currently going through at the moment. So like today, what I would say to you is that look at lower value contracts which, even if they're under $10,000, look at those ones and do multiple ones of those, rather than focusing on one big organization, which is, i.e., a government organization, for example, because you're leaving yourself vulnerable. It's not really a sellable business when you've got like one big organization. It can devalue your business, because if something was to happen, then that whole business is finished. So it's not really sellable, for example. So look at what you can do to get other entities, i.e., look at smaller value contracts, and have, like, say, by the end of the year, for example, you could have like 10 contracts which amount to $10,000, for example. And I'm just using this as an example so that you're learning about looking at the lower value contracts, rather than looking at the ones that are 5 million, looking at the ones that are 2 million in one go. Look at the smaller ones, because there's less of a hoop to jump over in order to get that contract. So I hope that makes sense what I'm saying to you. So seek small businesses that are already, that's got a contract that needs help and assistance from you. So you could subcontract with them, for example, or middleman type of thing, and provide that service. Okay, don't just rely on what you possibly have right now, because it may not last for long. So start pivoting now and looking at other organizations that have been awarded a contract and even a different industry. Okay, and I'm going to go more in this as well. But first, you got to identify what your niche is going to be. What is your niche? It could be home care, for example. It could be behavioral health, for example, mental health, public health initiatives that is in the future, like AI and things like that. And I know a lot of people don't like the word AI, but it's here. We can't avoid it. So what is it that you can do that's going to help? Maybe you could offer some training, for example. Technology services are very good and it's needed right now, for example. So choose a specific service that aligns with your expertise, for example. Then that way, when you apply for the contract, then you've got evidence that you know what you're doing. And the reason why I say to apply for the lower value contracts, the ones that are $10,000, for example, then you'll get strong at it. And then you then got evidence so that when you're ready to pitch for another contract, you can say, we have provided a contract and we're still currently providing a contract to this organization. The contract is valued at this amount and this is what we do. And this is the outcome that we have achieved by providing this service. So maybe you're working on that you've enabled them to improve their productivity, for example, efficiency, for example. So think about the type of contract that you want to apply for, but look at contracts that are low hanging fruit, that are easy to get, that the big, large organizations aren't going to be interested in. They just want it covered. You know, things like I said, uniforms, things like equipment, things like toilet paper, you know, simple things like gloves, things like aprons, things like PPE, that type of thing that you can look at providing, which can be on sam.gov, for example. There's so many website portals for you to look and apply for a particular contract. Look, you don't have to love what it is that you're doing, because you know at the end of the day you're there to provide a service, and that you're going to show evidence, and you're going to provide a presentation pack, because we always say to our clients to create a presentation pack, and we help them to do that. So what is the presentation pack? A presentation pack is where you talk about your services, what it is that you've offered, who you've delivered a service to before, or what your experience is, and what the community, if it is a community, what it is that you've found out that the community needs, and that you're able to provide that service by delivering X, Y, Z, for example. Also, another thing that you need to look at putting in is AI automation. What workflows you can discuss in the contract. So you have to think about writing a story. In the UK, we call it pen picture, for example. Write a storyboard about, you know, if you're not sure about how you're going to present your company, start with like a storyboard type of content. You know, like as if you're looking at a film or you're reading a story. You know, it starts from beginning, middle, and end, and what is the outcome going to be? Positive, of course, for example. Unless it depends who it is that you're delivering the service to, for example. But even if it's to do with quality of life, then you've provided that person with dignity, respect, and you've given them the freedom of choice to be at home, for example, to live their last days with their loved ones and family, for example. Okay, so what is it that you're going to be offering? Okay, if you're looking at providing mental health and wellness support, then talk about that, because at the end of the day, we're going through a lot of stuff right now. There's a lot of uncertainty going on right now, so maybe this could be needed. Well, it is needed anyway, for example, in the public health services, for example. Yeah, so think about what it is that you can provide. Maybe you could provide compliance training, for example, HIPAA audits, for example. What about looking at building local and state level relationships, for example? So by doing this, you can see if what events are going to be coming up shortly that you can attend. And I know that there's been a lot of cutbacks. There's been a lot of layoffs in the government organization. We're seeing it, in America, for example. But there are still some staff there, for example, that you can try and build a connection with. Okay, so think about what the state needs procurement wise. Check their portals out. Go to your local state and see what they need, because there's opportunities. They're still open. They haven't closed everything. There's still things that are open. So go and look and see what is available in your locality. And then you want to register your business for doing work with them contract-wise. And there's sam.gov, which some of you know of and some of you may not. So register on systems for the award. You can check out the award management like SAM, for example, to bid on federal contracts. See who's got the contracts that's still valid, for example, and build a relationship up with them. I would focus on subcontracts right now with organizations that do have those contracts, because you're the subcontractor, for example, and they've got a large contract. They need you as well, for example. And if you're working in alignment and that you can offer greater value than what they would anticipate, for example, then that is a win-win situation, for example. So think about this. Subcontracting, if you had, say, a list of 20 companies that have got these contracts, and then you want to subcontract with them, like be the middleman type of thing, then you can look at approaching all of those 20 people, for example. And even if you get 5 of those contracts that you're serving in the year, that is a win-win situation. So I would also look at that as well. So you've got contracts which are lower value contracts, but you've also got organizations that have got large contracts that you can look at subcontracting with. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Helping with administration, helping with efficiency, audits, compliance, all of these things. So consider general administration, for example. Think about what contracts are out there at the moment that you can help an organization with. Then what you want to look at is your marketing strategy and your proposal strategy. So you're going to look at, if you do have experience, then you're going to create your presentation to show evidence that you've got case studies. If you haven't got the experience, for example, then see what case studies have happened in the community, for example. Read up about that and see how that matches what you could possibly do as well by having the right staff members that are competent to do the job effectively, for example. But show past success, for example, and how you're going to implement AI automation in your business, for example. Highlight your cost savings and efficiencies. So many small contracts go to businesses that can provide affordable, scalable, and efficient solutions. So you want to keep your proposals very simple, for example. Just drink my tea. So when you're doing your proposals, you want to keep them clear, concise, and results driven. They want to see what the results was. What was the percentage that you achieved positive results with? And yes, sometimes you're going to have difficulties, and you mention, well, actually at this particular time there was this situation which was causing great difficulty. However, we've managed to overcome that difficulty by introducing this, that, and the other, and the time frame improved, for example, and we therefore was able to meet the deadline. Or maybe the deadline slightly went over because there was a reason for it. So you have to explain all of these things to show evidence that you can cope with challenges, that you can cope with stress, that you can cope with if something goes wrong, what is the protocol that you're going to follow, for example, because buyers will understand that things happen that can go wrong, but what did you do to correct it, and how did you correct it, and was that seen as efficient to the buyer, for example, to be able to use your services, for example. So I want you to really think about you being able to provide contracts, but looking at different types of contracts that are currently available. You may have to pivot and change from what you was doing previously because it no longer works for the buyer, for the government, for example. But also you can look and extract some of the success stories that is going to relate to a particular new contract, for example. Look, we all know that there's been things that orders have been put on and frozen, for example, but you're not going to mention anything controversial. You're going to mention what is needed right now, for example. Okay? So look at where you can find these small contracts, and then you can apply for these smaller contracts. So there's sam.gov. You need to register if you haven't done so already, for example, but I assume that you have. If you're looking at finding subcontract opportunities with bigger companies, then it is there as well for you to be able to do that. And you can even niche down as well to win. So look at what categories that you want to provide your service to. So small businesses, you can win. Okay, you're not aiming for the sky right now. You just want to get your foot in the door. Then start off small. Take baby steps, and then you will grow and you will get stronger, and then you'll be able to go up another level because you've already mastered the lower level contract. Then you can go up to another level once you've managed that and you've shown evidence and you've got some experience. Okay, so think about AI automation and explain that in your contract that you are using AI and what tools that you're using and what the benefits are and how it's going to help support you to deliver the contract in the time frame given, for example. So think about any lessons that you've learnt from any previous contracts that you've had that turned into a positive, for example. Okay, you want to keep everything positive. So final tips for you is to check out sam.gov, for example, and research local contracts in your area. There's lots of contracts that you can look for in your area that's available, and start looking now, for example. I hope that you've enjoyed this video today, this live today, and I'd like to invite you to book a free online meeting with myself so that I can talk to you about AI and our business bootcamp as well, which is to do with AI as well, and to learn about AI automation for your business and your contracts as well. So I would love to see your comments in the chat as to where you are currently at the moment with your contracts. Are there any, shifts that's affected you, for example, with these policies? Because there's policy shifts and there's leadership changes that's happened. So if you're looking at getting contracts with the human service department, for example, then there is the new secretary, which is Robert Kennedy, for example, that Trump appointed, for example, President Trump appointed, and that's something for you to be aware of as well. So think about your communication with the organization, and also you've got to look at how you're going to implement and provide value. What is your value that you're going to provide to the organizations that you want to contract with? And yes, there has been a lot of implications for small businesses, and this is why I'm doing this live training for you today, to make you think about going online and seeing what other contract opportunities is available for you as a small business, because the contracts are still there. For example, it's just what types you're going to apply for, because it's evolving and it's changing, and they're out for value, and they want efficiency, and they want an exceptional outcome, and they want you to be competent and to be compliant and to show evidence that you're able to deliver the perfect proposal, for example. So let me know in the chat what contracts you're currently looking at the moment. Are you going to be looking at any new contracts that's going to help your organization, for example? Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that we can do with the new changes. All we can do is, well, when I say nothing we can do something. We can apply for new types that are available, that's going to, because you're contracted, for example, and you know about contracts, then why not look at applying for new types of contracts and look at the lower value contracts? And I remember when I first started, and this was in the UK, for example, and I've had a staffing agency in America as well, so I know how that works as well. But I also remember that instead of me going for the big ones, because I just started out, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that one. So I started looking at the small ones. I started looking at things that was like 100,000, for example, because that was more easier for me, more palatable. And when I applied for one and I got it, and I was like, yeah, I got that one, excellent. Then I then applied for another lower value contract. The government needs you to apply for contracts. They're not saying that you can't apply for contracts. You just got to apply for the ones that they've got available right now, for example. So you will need to pivot and change, for example. And if you're completely new at this, then you've got even more options because your mind will be more open to different types of contracts. Okay, so this is what I want you to look at for yourselves, to look at what types of contracts that you want to do right now. Create a list, but what I would first of all do is go onto the SamGov website, see what's available in your local town, for example, in your district, and then look at what contracts are available and write a list of them all, and then go slightly out and write another list, for example, so that you've got a clear choice of the types of contracts that you want to apply for. And look at the lower value contracts, things that are like from 10,000 to 100,000, even 150,000. You know, I would start off that way, because then that way your chances are a lot stronger of getting that contract, because I think everyone's going for these larger contracts, and then the competition is a lot stronger, and also the commitment with delivering a large contract is really can be quite stressful, you know, because you've got time frames, you've got audits that you've got to go through, there's more regulations, although there is regulations with the smaller contracts, but it's more manageable. It really is, because you'll be on top of it all the time, every day. And if you implement AI with it, then you've got your AI that's doing the audit for your company, which is going to bring up a red flag immediately on day one, so that you know if something's going wrong and you can put it right straight away, rather than depending on waiting till you're ready for an audit. Then it's like suddenly you're running around trying to get all your paperwork together, when really you should be doing it every day. Audits every single day, because you know that if you're in America, you know the American government are not going to mess. They want it 150, 200%, and you've got to be like 50 times stronger than what the average contractor would be if you're just starting out. So you've got to really stand out in that way. So start off small. Don't jump for the bigger contracts immediately. You start off small and you take baby steps. Look at those contracts which are 10,000, and then you just master that, apply, get it, work it, get under, make sure it's under control. You got your AI implemented, and then boom, another one. You see, you apply for that and you get it because you showed evidence that you can deliver, and they know that you can deliver because you've delivered this particular lower value contract, and you're asking for another lower value contract. And that is how you can shift your small business into the lower value contract opportunities that are available, so you are ready to apply. So I hope that was helpful to you all. I'd love to know your comments, and thank you so much for your likes, and thank you for subscribing to the channel, because I'm going to be going through some more of these trainings, and I'm going to be showing you as well. I'm going to be showing you the ones in the UK as well as the ones in America. And one of the things I wanted to say to you as well is that you're not tied to contracting in America. You can be worldwide. We're global now. So look at contracts that aren't in your state if you're not allowed to have a contract in your state. Look at other places. The global contract opportunity is massive and they need you. You just got to pick the right ones that's going to make you stand out. And if you are looking at, you've got to make sure that you follow the regulations of that state. For example, what are the requirements? What is it that you need to make sure that you have in order to be able to apply? And as long as you do that and you look at ones that start off small, a lot of people, they just want to jump right at the top end. Start off small and be grateful for that. And then you then get strong. Then you can apply for the next one. All right, but like I said, there's such a global contracts that's available as well. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's training and, discussion, should I say. Like and subscribe to the channel so that you can get further notifications. I go live every day as well, just to let you know. I cover the US as well as the UK as well. But why not look at going global as well? But see what the requirements are. So get your notepad out or your laptop out, for example, and start making some notes of the types of contracts that you want to do. Is it IT? There's so much out there. Is it AI? What is it? What type of contract do you want to do right now that feels aligned with you and that you're going to grow and you're going to get stronger and stronger? All right, so thank you, everyone, and I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. But remember, it's time to make a shift. You got to pivot so that you're ready to apply for those contracts, because you don't want to miss out on them. You don't want to miss out on them. They're there. They're ready for you to apply for, but you've got to take that plunge. No one else can do it for you. But I'd love for you to book a free online meeting with me so that I can go through with this, go in depth with you as well. We hold monthly trainings. We do boot camps, contract boot camps. We cover the UK, we cover the USA as well. And we also do AI automation boot camps as well, because this is the new thing now. So we also do that. And, let's look at working together, for example, and seeing what you can do in order to apply for a contract for your organization. So thank you so much, everyone. And I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. I'll be here, which is 2 p.m. New York time, Atlanta time, which is 7 p.m. UK time. So I hope you'll be able to join me. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye.